Vicky Marie. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. A few crazy things going on all over the world. And for anyone who doesn't know me, thank you if you're watching my channel for the first time. My name's Vicky Marie. I'm based in mainland Spain, where it has rained continually for about a week. Rained again yesterday. It's still a little bit chilly, but the sun is out. We're back to normal. Sunny services resumed today, though it's still a bit chilly. And looking at my computer, it says there's going to be rain again, but I hope not anyway. Oh my God, we're sick of the rain now. So we're going to talk about a couple of things today, aren't we? If you read through the description of this video, I thought we'd have a little chat about a few different things, and then later I will probably divide this video up and release it in smaller chunks. And we're going to talk about what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about first of all, about the Hartavirus, which is the virus that supposedly has killed Betsy Hackman in this very sad, very tragic incident that's happened. Gene Hackman, famous, iconic actor, 95 years old, living in New Mexico with his wife, Betsy. And then this mysterious thing happened that now the police have told us they think that Betsy died first of this Hartavirus. And then poor Gene, as he had very advanced Alzheimer's, maybe wasn't able to call for help, or maybe didn't even realize she was dead. Who knows? See, we don't know exactly what stage advanced Alzheimer's he was at. We just don't know. There's so much that we don't know, and probably will never know, because this is I think they were very private people. Betsy seemed to be trying to deal with everything on her own, and it seems like Betsy died, and then Jean died a week later of who knows what, maybe even starvation, because they did say in the post-mortem he had not eaten for some time. So it seems like Betsy was looking after him. She died of this horrible virus. This is what the forensic examiner is saying. She tested positive for it. And we're going to have a look. What is it, basically? Then we are going to have a look. What we're going to have a look at next. Hang on. Oh, yeah, we're going to have a look at the storms that are battering Australia. Storm Alfred causing havoc. So, at least it might have been raining in Spain for the past week, but we haven't really had storms, at least not like that. So we're just going to have a little look at that. I hope all my Australian viewers are safe. And I hope that incident ends soon. Then we're going to talk briefly about, in case you didn't know, if you're British or if you're in Britain, today they're holding like what's been described as a day of reflection on COVID, because it's now been 5 years since COVID sort of changed the world forever, didn't it? I mean, I think like the world's just gone mad since then. I'm blaming it all on COVID. We've all got our experiences, haven't we, during COVID? It affected us all. I think the strange thing about COVID, or not the strange thing, but the monumental thing about it is, like, for example, at the moment, storms are battering Australia, or maybe in another country they've got a drought, or another country's got this or that. And the thing about COVID is it affected everybody. Every country. There wasn't one country it didn't affect. There wasn't one person it didn't affect. So it's a sort of universal thing that everybody has got their memories of. And we're going to have our little day of reflection over COVID. I'm going to tell you how it affected us here in Spain, or me, obviously me, what was the effect on my life and generally on people's life in Spain. And I think each country had a slightly different experience. Lockdowns were different. But really, apart from Sweden, which I think never had any kind of lockdown whatsoever, most countries did have some sort of restrictions, didn't they? So we're going to talk a bit about that. We're going to have a little reflection on COVID. Can you believe it's been 5 years? And of course, you know, some people's lives were changed forever. People lost people. Those people won't be coming back. And not only they lost them, but they probably couldn't go and visit them maybe when they're in hospital, or if they were looking after them at home, they couldn't get any support. They couldn't give them a proper funeral. You know, so it's a lot of people still scarred by the people they lost in COVID. And I think as well, a lot of, you know, mental health issues just went, you know, off the scale during COVID, because, you know, if you had any sort of mental health issue before COVID, it certainly would have got worse during COVID. And then, of course, you know, all the hospital appointments, you know, it's hard enough to get to see anyone. They're all put back. Also, you know, not only mental health, but physical health. So we're going to talk about that briefly. And then last of all, we're going to talk about this man. If any of you have seen the news, the UK news, yesterday there was a protester with a Palestinian flag climbed up Big Ben in London and stayed there for 17 hours. And we're going to look at that. And we're going to look at, you know, regardless of what you think of what he was protesting about, what does it tell us? Is it a good thing to do things like that? I mean, of course, the bad thing is, how was he even allowed to do it? He just literally jumped over a fence and climbed up Big Ben. You know, so someone had their eye off the ball there, and we're going to look at his Instagram account, where he shows these videos, because he videoed it all. And, you know, he wasn't only protesting about Palestine. You'll see from his videos, he says, you know, that our free speech is in Britain is, you know, waning. You know, you're not allowed to speak up about things. It'd be interesting to see what sentence he gets, because he's been arrested. We've got these Just Oil protesters that were sentenced to 5 years for just planning a demonstration that has just been reduced to 4 years. And that's people protesting against climate change, you know, trying to save the planet. And then you've got someone like Hugh Edwards, who had child P on his phone, didn't get a prison sentence at all. What's going on? You know, so I might get a little bit angry about that. So I am all for this guy climbing up Big Ben. You know, I was going to go live last night when he was up there, but I didn't want to be live if he, you know, and then he might have fallen down. So it was very dangerous what he did. But it certainly worked. Whatever you think of what he climbed up there for, or you think whatever you think, one thing I think no one can dispute is he certainly grabbed attention. I mean, there's protests going all the time. We never even get to see about them, do we? But we saw this protest. I don't think there've been many people who didn't see it. And, you know, the guy, to me, is just a typical British way of protesting. And you know what? What he did is everything I like about Britain, like the British character, you know, free speech. I'm going to say what I want to say. The tenacity of him to stay up there for 16 hours. That is a good British trait, I think. So anyway, so we're going to talk about that at the end. Okay, so I'm going to have a look. I'm going to say hello to people who are in chat, and then I am going to get started. So don't forget, if you're lurking, hello to you as well. Hello to all you lurkers. Gosh, my phone's beeping at me. Hello to replay crew, of course. If you're watching this on catch up, hi to you as well. Thank you for watching. Hope you're all well. Now, what I want you to remember, just the basic rules of my chat, which aren't many. We don't mention other YouTubers by name. We don't attack each other. You don't attack me. If you don't agree with someone, you attack the argument, not the person. We don't call each other names or say that you're stupid for thinking that. Everybody has their view and everyone's entitled to their view. If you don't agree with what someone says, you can either scroll past it or just say, oh, sorry, politely, I don't agree with that because. But yeah, we don't attack each other, do we? And that's it, really. That's the only rules. And of course, just your basic rules of no homophobia, no racism, no all those kind of things. Just try and be polite. Most of my chatters, all my regular chatters are very polite and civil. And we know how to chat. We know how to disagree without falling out. That's important, isn't it? Okay, so let me say hello to the ones that are in chat. Some people like to go in the chat, other people don't. Let's have a look. Hi, Kelly. Hi, David. Oh, a bacon and egg sandwich. I had a Greggs sausage roll for my breakfast this morning. Hi, Angel. Yeah. Hi, Daniel. Oh, hi, Julie. Oh, is it bad where you are? It's not been that bad here. It's not been that bad here. Hi, Maria. Julie, I hope you get your problems sorted out soon. I was thinking about you this morning. I was thinking, God, I don't even know what advice to offer about that. Okay. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you subscribers. Thank you to everyone who likes my videos. Thank you especially to my members and to those of you who've bought me a Ko-fi, sent me a super chat or PayPal me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you're not subscribed yet, please think about subscribing. It's completely free. And leave that DNA on the like button. Okay, let's take the banner off now then. So we're going to start, first of all, by looking at this virus, this awful virus. And of course, it sent people into a spin. A lot of people don't believe the story or believe that it's true, but what can you say? That's what the forensic examiner has released. Poor Betsy. I can understand it because I just feel like Betsy was trying to look after Gene. His health was deteriorating. He was getting his Alzheimer's was getting worse, and being probably fiercely proud, fiercely private, she was trying to do it all herself. That's exactly what my dad tried to do with my mum. And do you know what? He had a heart attack. He just died of a heart attack because he couldn't cope with. He was trying to do it all on his own, and it's too much caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, as my mum had. It is absolutely soul destroying. So you're talking about a partner. She'd been with him for 30 years. My mum and dad had been together for over 40 years. I think it might have even been 50 years. So seeing the person that you've loved and who's been part of your life for all that time deteriorate in front of your eyes, and they start doing very strange things, and the only reason I know exactly what was happening with my mum and dad's life is because I'd come to Spain by then, and I have my dad's letters. My dad would write me letters. I know I'm the only person in my family to have letters from him, because it's only because I was here. It's before social media. So you remember when people used to write letters, and I'm so glad I've got these letters, and telling me, what it was like trying to look after my mum. It's soul destroying for him. So that's what I think was happening with Betsy and Jean. She was trying to look after him. I still don't really understand why they didn't have carers, because we're talking about millionaires here. We're talking about people where money was no object. My dad didn't have any carers in for my mum because he could have had like social services, and we were always saying to him, look, don't be too proud to ask for help. He didn't even get carers allowance or anything. My dad was just that generation. He wouldn't ask. He didn't want anything given to him. You know, he worked all his life. He was on unemployment benefit very briefly when he got made redundant. He hated every minute of it. He then, you know, got another job, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't until he retired and he got his pension and everything. He felt he deserved his pension, but he didn't want to claim unemployment benefit and things, and carers allowance. So, you know, that's a generation that's, you know, some people just are fiercely proud and they will not ask for help. Other people, you know, milk the system, don't they? And then my dad was not one of them. And of course, but with Betsy and Jean, money was no object. So it must be privacy. Maybe she just didn't want people in to see how Jean had deteriorated. You know, we don't know, because I don't know if the police are going to be able to find anything, you know, on her electronic devices, that maybe she wrote a journal or said how she felt or whatever. Or maybe, you know, and it's very, very difficult, because when she popped out that day, I mean, thing is, you can't leave people with Alzheimer's on their own, not for any length of time. I wonder if she put him in that mud room, you know, would she have gone off and just left him wandering around the house? Or, you know, the trouble is, we don't know how bad his Alzheimer's was. I don't think we'll ever know the full circumstances, will we? But let's have a look at this virus. I'm going to put a little picture of it up here if I've got one somewhere. Yeah, certainly a virus I'd never heard of before. But of course, there are so many viruses that I've not heard of. You know, I don't know every single virus, but it's quite funny. You know, this is the virus itself. Viruses always look up in the top right-hand corner. They always look quite pretty, don't they? Because it's colourful. And but the reason, obviously, I think as well that I wouldn't have heard of it, 'cause it is quite common reading about it. It's more common to this area, sort of Arizona. And that area, it's a rodent. It's a virus that's transmitted by rodents, and especially apparently the deer mouse, whatever that is. So anyway, that's what we're going to have a look at. Okay, so just a quick thing, just to talk about what this virus is, because I think people are, you know, I think most people probably would not have heard of it. It's very rare, apparently. You know, so that's another reason, I suppose, that we wouldn't have heard of it. It's not a common virus. So actor Gene Hackman died of heart disease around a week after his wife. So this is what they're thinking now. That Gene died of heart disease. He probably hadn't eaten for a week. Though strangely, she did say, the forensic pathologist, that he was not showing signs of dehydration. So maybe he had access to water, but he just couldn't make himself something to eat. I mean, I just don't know. So, and of course, the dog, they still have not released the cause of death for the dog, which is a bit mysterious, but it may well be that the dog was crated because he'd been to the vet that day, apparently, or to the pet store the day that they think that Betsy sadly died. So it may be that she just hadn't taken it out of the crate yet, you know. Anyway, again, we don't know. But we don't know the cause of death for the dog. It won't be this virus, because the dogs are not in danger from this virus. And also, this virus apparently cannot be transmitted from one person to another. Okay. So HPS, commonly referred to as hantavirus disease, is a respiratory disease caused by hantaviruses, which are carried by several types of rodents. Now, I would say if you live in that area, look, it says here, it's a rare condition in the US, with most cases concentrated in the western states of New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. So it's something to, you know, bear in mind if you live in any of those areas. The New Mexico Department of Health says that hantaviruses are spread by the saliva droppings and urine of infected rodents, which in North America is most likely to be the eastern deer mouse, the Peromyscus maniculatus. Now, we saw their property. It's a huge property with a lot of land around it, etc. So there probably was a lot of mice. You know, I've had a mouse in my house once. It wasn't a deer mouse. I don't know what mouse it was, but I'm not sure where it came from, to be honest. But anyway, it took me about 3 months to catch it. Because I didn't want to kill it, you know, because I thought killing it was, I did try putting a trap down, but I just couldn't stand it. You know, my nerves couldn't stand it. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I did eventually catch this mouse, take it out to the campo and let it go. And by the time I caught it, it was funny because it had been in the house for so long. Over Christmas, it had been in the house. It was so fat because it was living off... was getting up onto the side where the toaster is, and I think it was eating the, you know, in the toaster you've got like the crumbs from the toast. I think that's what it was eating. Anyway, I got it in the end. So got it, took it out, released it into the wild. God knows what happened to it, but I hope it got a little bit of a free life out there. I'm sure it was happier in my house. But, you know, while I had that mouse, I was reading up on them. They're such intelligent creatures. They really are intelligent, and they can climb anything. They can get under doors. They can flatten their body and get under a door, because sometimes, you know, you find evidence of them around. You know, you do find their droppings in the weirdest places. And it's like, how the hell did it get there? You know, and then sort of reading up about them and how they're like Spider-Man, you know, it's like they can get anywhere, they can climb things, they put their legs sort of like that and climb up things, you know, they're very clever creatures. So, you know, and I'm not even in a rural area, so, you know, I'd imagine if you were in a rural area like they were, there's loads and loads. I mean, it was a cute little thing. It was like just a field mouse, I suppose, but I say it was a right little ball of fat in the end. It had a great time living in my house for 3 months. The first time I saw it was in the first time that I realised that we had a mouse. And I felt, because my son, he was only little at the time, and he'd been saying, oh, I can hear a funny noise in my bedroom. And I was just like, you know what kids are like, they have imaginations, don't they? And then it got cold, the weather turned cold, and up in the top of his wardrobe, he had this lovely blanket with a rocket on, you know, that just used to come out. Someone had bought him for his birthday, like a velour blanket. And it was starting to get cold, so I was going to put it over his bed, over his duvet. And when I pulled it down, it was all chewed and eaten. This bloody mouse had wrecked this blanket. So that's where it started off, in my son's room. I have no idea how it got in there, or, you know, where it came from. I think it came from my neighbour's house, because he'd said that he'd had a neighbour had a mouse in his boot one day. When he went to put his boot on, a mouse jumped out. I think they probably shooed it out of their house, and it just popped in next door. Anyway, yeah, so it ruined this lovely blanket. It'd probably been eating that for a while. And then, you know, a friend of mine was here one day, and she just said to me, oh my God. Oh, that's right. That was the other thing. I kept finding dog food. You know, my dogs eat the dry dog food. It wasn't the dogs I've got now. It was my previous 2 little dogs. And one of them would always pick the food up and take it off somewhere and then eat it, you know, for some reason. And I kept finding the dog food behind the sofa. And I was thinking, why is the dog... Like, she'd never done that before. She might take it over to the other side of the room and eat it. But I kept finding pellets of dog food behind the sofa. And I thought it was the dog that was doing it. But why is the dog taking but this must have been the mouse. So the mouse was probably living off the dog food as well. Oh, it was having a great time in my house. It would have been like what buffet in my house. You've got the toaster, the blanket, the dog food. He's having a great time, this mouse. Anyway, but, well, we didn't catch this horrible virus then, but it wasn't a deer mouse. It's what you would call a field mouse, I suppose. So this virus is often transmitted through the air when people sweep out sheds or clean closets where mice have been living, or by eating food contaminated with mouse droppings. Ugh. It's not transmissible from person to person. Look, actually, this looks a little bit like that mouse that I had in my house, but mine was fatter. Now the problem is this virus can cause pulmonary syndrome in humans. So this is the danger of it. So symptoms which vary between people are thought to develop between 1 and 8 weeks after exposure, and the likelihood of death in the southwest of the US is about 38 to 50%. That's quite high, isn't it? That's really quite high. Early symptoms include fatigue, fever, and myalgia, muscle aches. Half of patients also experiencing malaise, headaches, dizziness, lightheadedness, chills, sweats, and abdominal problems, including nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Now, the thing is, all those things, if you're just feeling tired or you've got a headache or dizziness, your first thought would not be this virus, would it? It might be now because we know about it now. But, I'd never heard of it before. So if you started experiencing, you'd think you had the flu, or you might think you'd eaten something, or, eaten something dodgy or whatever. Your thoughts would not straight away go to this virus. So they're early symptoms. Then later symptoms include coughing, shortness of breath, and pneumonia. Now, we don't know if Betsy had been to the doctor. She'd been out and about that day. The day that they think she probably died, because 1 minute, it was known that she was out and about. On the 11th of February, rapid breathing and rapid heartbeat are also typical. And if it gets to this stage, the disease progresses rapidly, requiring hospital treatment and often mechanical ventilation to help with breathing. Now, you can imagine someone like Betsy, if she was caring for Jean, she's not going to want to go to hospital, is she? Because she'll be thinking, who's going to look after Jean? Now, again, though, your logical mind tells you at the end of the day, they had enough money to get in a full-time carer, didn't they? So it is a bit mysterious why they were. I know they were proud and they were trying to do it on their own, and I understand that, as that's exactly what my dad did. But the thing is, if you're starting to feel ill, for any of you out there that are caring for anyone, be it a child or be it an adult with problems, you have to you should really carry something on you as well. Because if you were out and about and you had an accident, got run over, and, at home you've got a vulnerable person, who needs, or even if you've got dogs in crate, a lot of people crate their dogs when they go out, for various reasons. And, I wouldn't judge them. My dogs go in crate. Well, 2 of them. They love their crates, especially when there's fireworks going off in the village and that. I think they feel safe in them. But of course, there's 2 of us here. So, but the thing is, if I was living on my own, I wouldn't put my dog in. They have to go in the crates because they don't get on with the other dog, my son's dog. But so I suppose if he wasn't here with his dogs, there'd be no need for them to go in a cage ever. But I think really you should carry something to say, because if you live alone, and you're or even if you're living with somebody else, if you tend to go out together, the 2 of you, obviously myself and my son, we tend to go out separately. So it's not, but it could be that we're both in a car accident. Who's going to know that we've got dogs that need sorting out? So I'm thinking that now you should really be carrying something around with you. And if you're looking after an adult that maybe has got Alzheimer's or anything, maybe just needs care, you should make sure that that's known if anything should happen to you while you're out and about, because by the time they get to your loved one, realize, where you live and that there is someone there who needs help, they could be quite poorly by then. So yeah, it's something to think about. A lot of people wear like a pendant, don't they, or something. You could have a pendant on, or something that just, or carry a card that just said, because now think about with Betsy could have been out that day and died, and until anybody realized who she was, I mean, they probably would have found him quicker that way. But I think to most of us, we cannot believe that someone could be 7 days, bless him, waiting or not really realizing what's happened, probably wondering where Betsy was, maybe even trying to wake her up. As I know what happened with my mum and dad. My dad, they were in separate rooms by then. My dad would always take my mum a cup of tea in the morning, and he didn't this particular morning because he had unfortunately passed away in his sleep. And my mum waited so long. This is what we can gather, because we can't get the full story out of my mum. We couldn't get the full story out of her because she was so sort of, advanced with her dementia. But in the end, she got up and she was shouting at him, apparently, telling him to get up. Why haven't you brought my cup of tea and that? And then when she couldn't raise him, it's so sad to think about, actually, isn't it? She went out and was wandering up and down the front of the road in her nightie. And luckily, they lived in a neighbourhood where it was still community and what have you. And one of the neighbours came out and said to her, "What's the matter?" And that's how it all came to light. But, I often think about that. I think, well, that was only maybe an hour that my mum was wondering what the hell was going on, looking for help. And then you think of this poor guy, just for a whole week, and then eventually just succumbing to his own problems, his own health problems. It's a horrible story, isn't it? It's very sad. So when it progresses rapidly, it requires hospital treatment and often mechanical ventilation to help with breathing. And what is the treatment? There is no specific cure, treatment, or vaccine for this virus, but patients have a better chance of survival when they are diagnosed early. Well, I think the moral of this story is, make sure there's no mice in your surrounding areas and stuff. And I read on another site, you should not vacuum these mice droppings, apparently, because that makes the dust fly up in the air and you might breathe it in. So you should not vacuum them. I don't know what you're supposed to do, brush them up, I suppose, or I don't know, what is the way? So if you live in one of those kind of areas, or if you have a mouse problem anywhere, because, it's not only that area. I know in the UK, again, if people live near rural places, they tend to have mice come into their shed or whatever. And, at the end of the day, the mice are entitled to their life as well. But maybe you should look into some preventative measures of how to keep mice out. They're difficult to keep out because they're so clever. But yeah, you don't want them near your home, and you don't want to run a chance of picking up any illnesses from them. But they have the right to their environment as well. So I don't, I just think if you lived in an area that you think you might be susceptible to them, it's a good idea to look at what you can do about it. Preventative measures, because you just don't want, you just don't want this happening, do you? So, hi, sheep farmer. Oh, you're in Victoria. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you about that, what this virus was, what I can gather what it is, and it's just a word of warning to anybody, isn't it? At least there's some awareness now about it. I bet nobody knew, I bet there's not many people knew about that virus before. So anyway, So we're going to talk about the next thing now, which actually we're going down under, and we're going to have a look at these horrible storms that Australia is suffering from with Storm Alfred. So if you're down under, good day. I won't try an Australian accent because I'll be absolutely rubbish. But yeah, these horrible storms. Let's have a look at them. Now, of course, I think, isn't it summer in Australia at the moment? So they're tropical. It's a tropical storm, isn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah. Let's have a look at the Australian. No, so yeah, I hope you're all safe. All my subscribers, viewers in Australia, I hope you're all safe. This is in Queensland. In fact, I'm going to get up
with Labor, but they're not moving into the Liberal tent. And we saw that last night where there were huge swings against Labor. So much of that is really a correction.
No. What? Oh, the Herald. Sydney Herald is behind a paywall. Well, anyway, here's a few photos before I will find. Let's have a look at this one. CNN. So it's starting to weaken, apparently. Thank God. God. Now, I mean, oh, sorry, I wasn't sharing it. Let's watch that again.
Australia's eastern coast has been spared the worst from what was the slow-moving tropical cyclone Alfred. But the danger is not over yet. Flooding from heavy rain is now the biggest challenge, and forecasters predict heavy rainfall for days to come. Alfred has weakened to a tropical low-weather system, but not before lashing coastal suburbs with destructive winds and rain, knocking down trees and leaving many without power. Now, more rain fell in 24 hours Friday in some locations than normally falls in the entire month of March.
Now, it's funny, isn't it? Because you just feel like you're always looking at scenes like this lately. But it could be anywhere in the world. Like we've had them in Spain, you've had them in the UK, they've had them in Australia, they've had them in America. It's just this one flood after another, one storm after another, all over the world. Now, maybe it was always like that. And maybe it's just now we can see it because of the internet. I mean, the internet is a good thing in so many ways, but there's a reason why they call what we do on the internet doom scrolling, because you do think you're going down there, oh my God, there's fires there, there's floods over there, there's a serial killer there, terrible accident there, terrorist attack there. It's just constant, isn't it? And now, of course, we get it from all over the world, not just our area. We get to hear of it happening everywhere. But, I don't know. Is it climate change, or have we always suffered from these things? I think I think probably it's more now than it used to be, don't you think? Or, you know, let me know what you think in comments. You know, are these new phenomenons, or do you think we've always had these phenomenons, but now we're just so much aware? Anyway, there's been at least one death. A 61-year-old died in the flood warnings. Let's see if let's have a look at this. I think it'd be easiest to just find a video of it, but it never is. Where are we? We're in the Telegraph here, I think. I'm looking for a video that I can show you.
Just briefly say on the floods that the situation in Queensland and northern New South Wales remains very serious due to flash flooding and heavy winds. Heavy rainfall, damaging wind gusts and coastal surf impacts are expected to continue over coming days. I urge everyone to continue to listen carefully to the emergency authorities. Tragically, last night it was confirmed a 61-year-old man has died in floodwaters near Dorrigo in New South Wales. Our thoughts are with his loved ones and the community at this heartbreaking time.
So this is happening in Queensland. Now, of course, Australia is a massive place. So I think those of you that are in Victoria, you're down here, aren't you? Queensland is over here near Brisbane. Yeah, just start bordering New South Wales, whereas Victoria is right down here at the bottom. So they don't seem to be suffering. So it's Queensland where it's happening. Australia is a big place. So not all of Australia, obviously, will be affected. Just go back and find another. I want to find a video of the actual, you know, of it actually happening. But why am I struggling to find? Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Wow. Oh, let me just share it. It looks ominous, doesn't it? Mind you, Spain's looked like this for the past 7 days.
And my mother-in-law's right on the river, so I'm trying to get her to come to our house so that I don't have to worry about her, but definitely worrying about the extra high tides. So while I don't want it to come, I'm okay with it. However, I know a lot of people are really struggling with anxiety, just even the fact that there's rain coming.
Then you'll always get someone like that in the water that doesn't give a shit. You always get people, you know, most people would be sensible. You know, he's surfing. You know, I'd be up this was what I did last Saturday. Up the supermarket, get the provisions in. I didn't go out of the house for 3 days. Now I have been out the past few days because I've got to take my son to work. But, you know, and to be honest, I don't mind a little bit of rain. It was raining yesterday. It was a very light rain. I quite liked it, actually. But oh, look, she's still got her shorts on there. Oh, look at that bird. Oh, wonder what they, you know, you always think about the wildlife, don't you? I mean, I hope they find somewhere to shelter in these horrible conditions. Well, that looks nice, actually. I'd quite like to walk along that beach. God, I wouldn't want to be in the sea, that's for sure. I don't like the sea when it's calm. Oh, God, look at him surfing. Crikey. Well, what do you think about that? Let me know what you think in comments. Would you go out surfing in that water? So it can't be that cold, can it? Because they've all got shorts on. Oh my God. Crikey. Oh, they're going for a swim. Beach closed, so they all go for a swim. That's typical. Then the emergency services have to go and rescue them.
Oh, we considered not going out wide. Yes, that's what we stayed well inside the break. It was nice and calm in the corner. And, out of danger, just kept it safe. Lifesavers have got better things to do than mess with us. Every day we do that. What do you reckon about tomorrow?
Well, we might have to skip a day or two. We'll have a look how it is.
Coffee day tomorrow.
Boys, guys.
You know, nature is scary, isn't it, when you think about it? Where we try and control the world. You know, humankind tries to control everything, but you cannot control nature, can you? I'm getting ready for it. Huh. Yeah, get the sandbags down. I suppose at least these days we get a good warning of these things, don't we? You know, years ago you wouldn't have known until it actually hit you. And now, at least, you know, with new technology, and at least we can forecast more or less when these things are going to happen. But that sea looks angry, doesn't it? It's terrifying. What's all that scum on the top of it? Looks disgusting. Wow. What's all that scum on the top of the sea there? It really looks horrible, that. It can't be cold, can it? It can't be cold. Because those people haven't got enough clothes on. They've just got light shower-proof jackets on. Most of them have got shorts on. Oh my God. Wow. Ooh, yeah, you know, I've just don't like the sea at all. I never liked it that much, but I've gone off it completely. I'd much rather be in a pool, a swimming pool, where you can see to the bottom, you know what's in it. Yeah, David, I think of sharks. What the sharks doing when the weather's like this? You know, do they just go further to the bottom and wait for it to finish? But anyway, yeah, so many shark attacks. Right, I think you get the picture. So I just want to have a look at there was a video of the aftermath that I just wanted to have a look at. Let's see.
Well, I had my son out, took him out there right before I sold him there.
Look at this. So it's landed now. I think it's past now, but this is the sort of damage that's left behind. Trees fallen. One person's been killed. I mean, I know. Look at the kangaroos. I mean, what do the kangaroos do? Oh, look, it looks soaked wet through, bless it. Yeah, this is so one person's been killed, which of course any one life is a tragedy, but it could have been a lot worse, of course, couldn't it? So now people are coming out to have a look at how they come out the cones. Do you know what? It's funny, isn't it? You could be anywhere in the world, really. And see, look, he's having his bit. Yeah, I bet he's not happy about being videoed. Oh gosh, look at that. Now, this reminds me of the scenes in Valencia in Spain when we had the flooding. You know, is this something that happened regularly before? I mean, that happened in Valencia, that had never been seen before. Okay, so I just wanted to show you what was happening in Australia. You know, it's sort of stunning, really, isn't it? But anyway, so what we're going to look at next, David, yeah, lots of cones. There's always a cone man or a cone person everywhere you go, isn't there? Now, what we're going to look at now, what we're going to talk about now, and this is something that don't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter who you are, there is nobody that was not affected by COVID-19, where they're talking of viruses. It hit us like a ton of bricks, didn't it? When COVID happened. So today in the UK has been designated a COVID reflection day. So I thought that's what we would do. We would have a look, just talk about, you know, I think generally we want to forget COVID ever happened. But of course, for some people, as I was saying earlier, you can't forget it because, you know, maybe you lost someone during COVID, or maybe your life was altered irrevocably during COVID. I just feel that 5 years ago, so that was 2000 then, was it? Now, when I first, you know, as a Spanish teacher, when people come along and they do classes and I write out a receipt for them when they pay, and, you know, you write in the date. And I remember when I first started to write 2020, it felt like something, you know, God, so when I was a kid, we used to watch Space 1999 on the telly, and it was like talking about life in the future, people living in space, etc. And now here we were in the year 2020, and there was just something about writing it. I remember thinking, God, this looks like almost biblical or something. This, you know, it seemed like an incredible. I'm lucky to get to 2020. Many people I've lost along the way never made it to 2020. So that's how the year started, wasn't it? So the year started. Nobody had any idea what was coming that year, did they? It happened so quick. It was incredible, really, wasn't it? And we'll all remember how it happened. And as far as it was for me and here in Spain, is the weekend before the COVID sort of, everything went crazy in Spain. I had two friends out on holiday, friends that I'd known from school. They came out like for a long weekend. We had a great time. We were going out. It was just really nice. The weather was nice. We did some sunbathing on the roof. That was the weekend before. And, they went back to the UK. I can't remember exactly what day. It was probably the Monday or Tuesday. They were here for a long weekend anyway. Then Thursday came. I was working at classes. I was very busy at the time. Lots of students on the, my business will never recover and has never recovered from COVID. It'll never be like it was before. But on that last day, on that Thursday, I had 16 students in the classroom, and I had another teacher working with me, and we worked the day, and then we didn't have class. I've always tried to avoid classes on a Friday. I'd rather work longer days, Monday to Thursday, and then get Friday as a day to sort of catch up with other things. So you have other things that you have to do. And so Thursday was like the Friday for us. And at the end of the day, we all said goodbye, see you on Monday. And of course, that wasn't to happen. Anyway, there was a few little signs already that something weird was happening. Now, by then, we'd heard of COVID, but it was in China. It was in China. It was nothing to do with us. I don't think anyone here in Spain really thought that it was going to come to Spain. Then, of course, next minute you hear a case in Madrid or whatever. And then everything just went crazy, but it was all happening behind the scenes. And a big problem that happened in Madrid, and I don't know if you're still here, Julie, and if you remember it, if you were in Madrid at the time, but a lot of people in Madrid and in big cities like that, they have holiday homes in the south of Spain. So when the COVID started, arrived in Madrid and people started going down with COVID, a lot of them that had holiday homes in Madrid just got in their cars and left Madrid and came to the south of Spain. We'd had no incidences of COVID before that, but suddenly they all descended on the area, on my area and all the areas in the south where they have their holiday homes. They all just appeared, families, hundreds, thousands of people, and they weren't stopped from leaving Madrid. I think that's one thing. The Spanish government were very slow on containing. I think it caught everybody by surprise. So before the Spanish government they did close down Madrid in the end and stop people leaving, but already a lot of people had left and they'd come to the coastal areas. So I remember that morning, my other teacher that was working with me, she said to me, went to the supermarket last night. There's nothing in the supermarkets. So that would have been on the Wednesday evening. So I said, what do you mean there's nothing in the supermarket? So she said, apparently everyone's come, she'd heard, apparently everyone from Madrid has come here and they've gone into the supermarkets and bought up all the supermarkets, got in all stuff because it had already started in Madrid. So I thought, best go to the supermarket after work, like you do. So off I went to the super. So we all said goodbye to each other. See you on Monday, blah, 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 blah. I went off to the supermarket and there was nothing in the supermarket. And when I say nothing, well, I'm sure you all remember what it was like during COVID. And as far as the meat section was concerned, I never forget, I should have took a photo of it actually. There was one packet of chicken feet. you've got all these rows and rows of fridges where normally are packed full of meat. There was one bandeja, one tray of chicken feet. That was it. That was all there was in this particular supermarket. Now, this particular supermarket that I'd gone to is right in the heart of the area where, all the Madrileños have their holiday homes, etc. So luckily at the time, I had a car and I could go to a different supermarket, which is in more of a place where not many Spanish people go. And they still had loads of stuff and that. So at that moment, anyway, so I was able to get stuff in. I got a week shopping in, got some stuff for my son because my son wasn't living here at the time. He was living somewhere else. And we weren't under lockdown yet. That was, lockdown was only in Madrid because we'd had no cases. Anyway, the next morning, which was the Friday, I got a text from one of my students who'd been there the day before, and they said, I don't know if I can come into class on Monday because the police have just, where he lived on the coast, right on the coast, said the police have just gone up and down all our roads with loudspeakers telling us to get into the house, to return to the house, and you cannot leave your house. So again, this was not an area that close to me, about 20 minutes drive from me. And I said, oh, right, okay. So he said, so I don't know if I'll be able to come into class on Monday because I don't know how long this is going to last. So I just thought, oh, right, okay. So, yeah, he was scared. He said it was really scary because they were literally, the police were going around with, cars with the loudspeakers saying, return to your home, do not leave. It was like martial law, really, basically. That was the Friday. And then by Saturday morning, there was, Pedro Sanchez, our great leader, he was there on the TV saying to us, you cannot leave your home except for vital shopping for 2 weeks. That's how it started. 2 weeks. No, you can't leave your home for 2 weeks. And then he gave a criteria where you could go and get shopping. Or if you had to go somewhere, if you're an essential worker, you had to have a reason to go somewhere, and you had to have, and there were police everywhere. So I went to my son's to give him some money and some food and things, because I never forget, we had a little hug there on the street, and we weren't even sure we could have a hug. Because we weren't supposed to you weren't supposed to go to anyone's house. It didn't matter if it was your family. There were no bubbles. It was just, don't leave the house except to go to the supermarket. And you could only go to the supermarket alone, one person, not even a couple. And you can't talk to anyone. You have to buy more than 50 euros worth of shopping. And you have to go to a supermarket within 1 kilometre of your area. All these rules. Anyway, there were police everywhere. I got stopped by police many times, but luckily I could explain to them whatever it was I was doing, because I didn't leave the house unless I had to anyway. I was very abiding with it all. So that was Saturday. So all this happened, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that's it. We were in lockdown. And of course, they said originally it was for 2 weeks, but it turned out being for 3 months or whatever. And then the other thing that happened was that was the Friday. Then on the Saturday, I slipped in the shower, and that's when I banged my eye. I talk about this in my Confessions of a Spanish Teacher book. Slipped on some conditioner in the bath, banged my head on the side of the bath, and had a massive black eye. And I wouldn't go to hospital. I was too terrified of going to hospital. And I still think to this day, I think I actually cracked my eye socket. Anyway, I'll just show you where you can read about that if you want to. Only if you want to, of course. I want to say thank you to a lot of you who've already bought this book. Why you can never find things. Oh, there you go. Now, this, what I'm showing you, is on Amazon.es, but you can buy it on any Amazon site. This book, Confessions of a Spanish Teacher, Part 1. You can buy it on Kindle or you can buy it paperback. And yeah, it's an interesting read. Anyway, I talk about what happened in COVID. It's all in there. And also about sort of, you know, if you want to know about me, you know, where I was born, how I ended up coming to Spain, how I ended up being a Spanish teacher, how I got interested in true crime, etc. It's a bit of an autobiography, if you like, I suppose. And it's available on any Amazon site. Okay. Let me just put a few windows down. So yeah, but everybody's got their COVID experience, haven't they? And then the two friends that had come out to visit me the weekend before, they got back to the UK, and one of them had a sore throat and a headache, and they had COVID. But that's the only thing that manifested in them. They probably caught it in Spain, or they caught it on the flight home or whatever. And they were okay, but then their husband caught it. He was ill. 3 weeks, he couldn't even get out of bed. He couldn't breathe. He was hospitalised once. She had to get the ambulance out to him. The ambulance said to her, there's no point in taking him back to hospital. He'd be safer at home. Hospitals were packed in Manchester. You know, people, you know, I don't know, you know, we won't get into an argument about the vaccines. But no one, you cannot deny that COVID existed. It existed. People died of it. Anyway, he survived. He survived, luckily, and he's okay now. But he probably only survived because he was quite a fit person. You know, he didn't smoke, etc. But, you know, he was just bowled over by it, whereas she only had a headache and a sore throat for a couple of days. She thought he was going to die. But the thing is, she couldn't, you know, nobody could help her. Friends would leave food at the door or whatever, but nobody could come into the house and help her. And she had to nurse him for 3 weeks. And I say, just call out the ambulance if he got really bad. So I don't think anyone can deny it existed. I know of many people who died of COVID. And then another friend of mine who lives in France, her sister, who is Down syndrome, she got COVID, and I can't talk about this without crying, sorry, but she was in intensive care. Nobody could go and visit her, and she died. And my friend couldn't go and visit her. She couldn't leave France. She couldn't go to her funeral. They couldn't even have a proper funeral for her. And bear in mind, and one thing I think that nobody should forget is that in the meantime, Boris Johnson and all those people, Dominic Cummings, all of them, partying, enjoying themselves, even the night before. Even the Queen sat on her own when Prince Philip died. Do you remember that sort of pitiful picture of her sitting on her own, abiding by the COVID rules? And you know, I'm not a royalist, but you know, I've got a lot of admiration for the Queen. There's her husband died, and the night before that, they were having parties in Downing Street. Don't think anyone should ever forget that, how people treated people. You know, how the whole thing, the lockdowns, whether you agree with them or not, I'm not against the lockdowns, but the effect that they had on people's mental health, whereas some people just carried on doing whatever they wanted to do. And that's what I'll never forgive the Conservative government for that. And I was watching a different thing happening here. You know, Pedro Sanchez, a lot of Spanish people don't like him, but he was very good. He was on there, he was doing his regular updates. He was very authoritative. It was just him. You know, he wasn't relying on, he would take the medical advice from people and then he would decide what to do. You know, he took the responsibility, etc. So it was horrible. The whole thing horrible, wasn't it? Yeah. And a lot of people have been left with mental health problems, etc. And I do think, that's a big reason why there's this explosion of mental health issues. But anyway, let's have a look at this reflection. So in Britain today, let me just find out. Oh, I've got to find where I had that ready somewhere. They're having a day of reflection. Let's see. So this article in the BBC is the South East. Oh, let me just share it. The South East remembers the dead on COVID Reflection Day. Now, I think each of these hearts is supposedly someone who died, isn't it, during COVID? So at least 232,000 people in the UK died during the pandemic, with COVID-19 listed as one of the causes on their death certificates. So there are 9 official Day of Reflection events taking place across Kent, Surrey and Sussex on Saturday. Now, you get people like Rees-Mogg. Do you remember him? Who's now a lord. He's a lord now. Of course, they all end up being lords. Get made a lord for being shit now, don't you? So he said people should move on. People should move on. People don't move on from losing loved ones, idiot. So we hope to offer communities across the country the opportunity to join together in commemoration of those who lost their lives. So in Maidstone, 633 trees are being planted in various locations. Oh, I'm getting all emotional. That's why I saved the protest there on Big Ben till the end, because I think we might get a bit of light relief with that. So 1 tree for each person in the borough who died during the pandemic. Also be events held at Jeskins Community Woodland, Begbury Forest and Hopewell Sculpture Park, etc. In Surrey, people are invited to spend time reflecting in Alice Holt Forest, sign a book of remembrance at Epsom and Newell Borough Council, visit the Reigate and Banstead Borough Council building, etc. And there will also be a series of events taking place. Oh, there's not much there. Sorry, I thought there was going to be much more in there. Might be better on the Sky News. So, yeah, on the government websites, look, it's talking about it. Government.uk. Now, I think it's good to have these days. I don't think we should ever forget. We should never forget. But to me, the most important thing we should never forget is how the government had parties at 10 Downing Street and didn't give a shit about what was going on and what was happening, whereas other people, even the Queen, obeyed by the rules. Let's have a look at it. This is an enduring photo for me. I'm going to start crying now. Let's all have a cry. Let's all have a cry. This photo of the Queen. Of course, Prince Philip died, didn't he? Right in the middle of it all. Now, I don't know that he died of COVID. Where's that picture of the Queen? Look. So at the funeral, everybody had to sit, separately. Fair enough. The Queen had to sit on her own because now I'm sure maybe afterwards they gave her a cuddle or whatever. But, because she was setting an example. She was setting an example to people. Now, if you're fortunate to be in a position of power, which at the end of the day, the Queen was, I have admiration for the Queen. You set an example. That's what you do. So there she is, sat at the funeral of her husband of God knows how many years. And she's got to sit on her own. It was such plaintive a photo, and I say, it don't matter what happened after. Maybe after they were all hugging each other, I don't know. But she was setting an example because she was showing people what they had to do. In the meantime, Downing Street, they're having parties because they're all having a great time, because a lot of people made a lot of money out of COVID as well, didn't they, with the PPE. These are the things, to me, when we talk about reflecting on COVID, as well as reflecting on the people who died during COVID, we should be reflecting on Michelle Mone, other people that made a fortune out of COVID, because what was that other guy? Oh God, the guy that was Matt Hancock, PPE contracts, Dominic Cummings going off to Barnard Castle and taking the piss and trying to tell people that he was just testing his eyesight. These are the things we should be reflecting on. We should remember how the public were gaslit by people like this. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So, yeah, most of those failed politicians during that horrible 13 years of Tory rule, and what I know Labour people are going to moan about everyone, but I still feel prouder of being British now than I did before. I've never felt so not proud of being British as during that Tory shit show and Brexit and all those horrible things that happened. It was Brexit, then it was COVID, it was one thing after another. At least the Queen showed what you should do, and this is what I'd like to see Charlie Boy do. Instead of telling everyone to lead a simple life, I'd like to see him lead a simple life and lead by example in his gold carriage and his golden thrones that he had made for his coronation and all that. I'd like him to show, to lead by example, which the Queen at least led by example, showed people. She had not, she knew. Anyway, so a lot of people were in the same position as the Queen, in that they couldn't sit with their loved ones at funerals, couldn't even go to their loved ones' funerals, and if they did, they all had to sit. They couldn't even give each other a cuddle, or you know what I mean? And the Queen sort of led by example with this, unlike everybody else. Are you getting riled up? I can feel myself getting riled up as well. I could go right into. So when they talk about, excuse my French, but when they talk about fucking day of reflection, let's reflect on how horrible the British government were during it. And this is why I have my respect that I have for Pedro Sanchez, because what a lot of Spanish people don't like him, but he never, and I don't know what he was doing in his private life. Maybe he was breaking rules left, right and centre, but he always set an example. I used to look forward to his talks. On Saturday, he used to tend to do his sort of address the nation, and say where we were, and you always felt better after you'd heard him speaking. You felt calmer. He was calm. He was authoritative. And then I'd sit and watch Boris Johnson. Wear a mask if you want to, but you don't really have to. Just tell people what they've got to do, for God's sake. So nobody really knew what they were supposed to be doing. So then it splits the public, doesn't it? Because then you're going out and you've got one person wearing a mask, because that's what you're supposed to do. But someone else, bollocks that, I'm not wearing a mask. So they start arguing then. Instead of just saying, this is what you've got to do. That's what Pedro's. I tell you what, if you didn't do it, the police would be on you. There were police everywhere. So, but the thing is, although that might seem draconian, but at least people knew where they were. You said, you can do this and you can't do that. So you were allowed, that's why everyone afterwards got a dog, because you were allowed 15 minutes to walk your dog. I think it was twice a day. You're allowed to leave your house for 15 minutes within 100-yard radius or a kilometre radius from your house. And your dogs had to do everything they had to do in that 15 minutes. And Riley, one of my dogs, Oh, you won't get him to do it in 15 minutes. You'll be lucky if you get him to do it in an hour. It takes ages. And like the other day, I was there with him, and we were in. We weren't even in the campo. We were on a pavement, and he cocked his leg. Honestly, I think he was weeing for 5 minutes. It was embarrassing. It was like, it talk of floods, it was like a flood coming down the pavement. And I'm like, oh my God. So that is Riley for you. And then to do a number 2, oh my God, he's very fussy. So he'd be walking around for ages before he found the exact right spot. You know, so it was a challenge. And then you weren't allowed to go out and do exercise or anything, like, not for the first couple of months you weren't. Eventually then they started letting you out to do exercise. But you had to, you know, certain people at certain times. So I think was it old people first, very old people first, that it used to be age banded. And I think they were working on the assumption that older people get up early. So the older people could go out early in the morning, then the sort of middle-aged people, then the youngish people, and then the teenagers. Theirs was like 1 o'clock or something. But anyway, it was very good. It was a very good. So, yeah, exactly, David. So a lot of people got dogs because, you know, that's my neighbours did that. They got, so, because a lot of them thought, it was hard on the Spanish, the lockdown, because Spanish people are very gregarious people. Anyway, again, I talk about that in the Confessions of a Spanish Teacher. Every night we had to do the 8 o'clock applause. Every night. I think you had to do it, if you're watching from the UK, you had to do it once a week on a Thursday or something, didn't you? Oh, no, not in Spain. Every night at 8 o'clock, everyone was out clapping and then shouting over, talking to each other over the street for about another hour. Night, night, Kelly. So, yeah. Then a lot of people, when the restrictions lifted, a lot of people got dogs just in case we had another lockdown. And then, yeah, unfortunately, well, you couldn't get a dog at that time, could you? You could not get a dog for love nor money because everybody wanted a dog. Now, of course, we're back to the stage of there's not enough shelters for the dogs. So a lot of dogs got returned, or then with the floodings in Valencia, there's been in Spain, I'm talking about, obviously, there's a lot of stray dogs, you know, that were people don't know where they belong, so that were found in the floods, and they've ended up in shelters. So yeah, there's a crisis now. So we got like we had like a crisis in the sense of there weren't enough dogs that people wanted to. The demand for adoption was more than the amount of dogs, and as you say, David, the prices. But I would, you know, no offence to anyone who's done it, but I don't pay for. I wouldn't pay for I always adopt, always. There's so many dogs, cats in need homes. I would never pay. I don't like breeders either. I don't believe in breeding dogs. That's just my personal opinion. I don't judge anyone who buys a pedigree dog. That's everyone has their right to do what they want, but that wouldn't be for me. I always believe in adoption. There's so many animals out there that need homes, you know. But yeah, the prices did go up. I remember a friend of mine in the UK, so she wanted a dog. Again, to do more because of COVID, really, but she had 2 children, so she had to be careful. Young children at the time, they're older now, but so she had to be careful what dogs she took. Shh, stop it. So she couldn't get a puppy in the shelters at all the puppies had gone. So she ended up buying a dog, and it was, when she told me how much it was, I was like, "Wow!" It was thousands. I think it was a Lakeland Terrier or something like that. I just could not believe that anyone would pay that money for a dog when there's so many dogs. But I understand that she had to be careful because she had young kids, so she had to make sure it wasn't a dog with a past. you know, because sometimes when you get a dog from a shelter, unless it's a puppy, you don't know what the background is. So I understand that. But yeah, it just got crazy, didn't it? Anyway, and of course, a lot of people breed for profit. They don't care about the dogs. I'm sure there's some good breeders out there, but there's so many unscrupulous breeders. You hear about them all the time. They're just breeding for profit. And when these dogs went up in price, you know, anyway, I don't believe in making profit out of animals like that either. You know, anyway. So that's our reflection on COVID. So we've had a little reflect on COVID. Where's me orange juice? Actually, it's not orange juice. What is it? Tropical. Let me get some tropical orange juice. Because my throat's going. I can feel my throat now. I've been talking for quite a while. Okay, so that's our reflection on COVID. I mean, most of us would just want to forget it ever happened. But of course we can't, because it leaves a scar. You know, either mental health issues, or I don't think any of us, well, certainly I don't, go out as much as we used to go out before COVID. So a lot of businesses have suffered. My business suffered. Obviously, couldn't teach Spanish. And then when finally we could start teaching again, you know, we had to wear masks. And that's not conducive for conversation in Spanish when you can't even see someone's mouth. But it did mean that's when I started doing Zoom classes. So really nowadays I do more Zoom classes than classroom classes. So it changed my business, and Zoom classes was good. So it had some improvements, because it means I can teach Spanish to anybody anywhere in the world. So that's good. And it meant I got my book finished, because, you know, those kind of things. So you always have to try and look at the positive, don't you? Because there was, I suppose, some positives. Hi, Annie. So, yeah, that's our reflection on COVID. And this, I say cheers, it's only, what is it? It's tropical thingy. So it's not real proper cheers, but here's to hopefully we never see that again, that kind of thing. And as I say, I think it's unique, COVID, because it affected everyone all over the world. I mean, and if you weren't living in a tiny little apartment, imagine if you were suffering domestic violence. And then you're stuck in it. There was loads of murders in Spain, domestic violence murders during COVID. It must have been terrifying for people who were living in them circumstances and then couldn't even get a brief respite where their abuser went to work or went to visit his mates or went to the pub or whatever. Or her, of course, I have to remember that. So it must have been just terrible. So, you know, I think I was lucky. You know, this house is quite big. You can walk around it. You could get exercise in it by wandering around it. You know, some people were stuck in really awful conditions, tiny little flats. You know, you're stuck in there with like a load of kids, you know. Kids were bored stiff. It was just awful, and it affected everybody, didn't it? Hi, Admit. So this was, yeah, so you couldn't get an appeal going or this, because everybody was affected. There's nobody who wasn't affected by COVID. Now, some people profited from it, as I say, like your Michelle Moans of this world, the Matt Hancock, and, you know, selling off deals, like, and, you know, giving their deals to mates. And a lot of people made a lot of money out of COVID, a lot of people. So, of course, the supermarkets did well out of COVID, I think. Anyway, so we're going to stop talking about that now. We're going to move on. I'll say it's a bit lighter. It's a serious subject, but I think it is. I just think it's a typical British story, this, in my opinion. So for those of you who live in the UK and maybe across the world, because it's certainly been a worldwide story, this guy, I don't think we know his name yet. though I have got his Instagram profile. We're going to look at his Instagram videos. Climbed up Saturday morning, 7:30 in the morning, climbed up Big Ben without being stopped and before anybody realised. So, you know, Parliament buildings, one of the most sort of supposedly heavily protected buildings in the UK. He just hopped over the wall, climbed up, and before anyone knew it, he was halfway up it with a Palestine flag. And he stayed there for 17 hours or 16 and a half, 17 hours. And he did not come down till just after midnight last night or this morning. And, you know, I was watching it. I'm sure you were. I'm sure a lot of you knew about it, even as say all over the world. Oh, now, one thing I want to say, what I want to say about what I want to say about this, first of all, is it's not a question of whether you agree with his political leanings. He's gone up there with a flag and shouting "Free Palestine." Now, I think you have to look beyond that. If you don't agree with that sentiment, that's fair enough. But look beyond it and what he did and the other things that he was protesting about, because he's protesting about the absence of free speech now, you know, in Britain, and not only in Britain. I think sometimes you've only got free speech as long as you agree with what they want you to agree with. Everyone, you know, Britain's always been famous, if you like, or you know, admired for the fact that you could protest. You can stand on Hyde Corner, say whatever the hell you want. But increasingly people have been moved on, quiet and shut up, you know, and told to shut up. And this guy, he just defied it all. You know, people now get irritated by protests, don't they? And I think sometimes what people forget, that without protest, like even, you know, going back to the suffragettes or when working class people didn't have a vote, all those things, all the advancements in our society, a lot of them have been achieved by protest. You know, and protest is important. You should be able to protest as long as you're not hurting anyone. You know, he hasn't hurt anyone. He's gone up and done there. He's done it peacefully. He hasn't shot anyone. He hasn't mowed anyone down in a car. He's literally jumped over a wall, climbed up Big Ben and said what he's got to say. And, do you know, the other thing is when you watch these videos that he's put on his own Instagram, I think it's really, to me, this is everything I love about British people. I love the fact that they're a bit eccentric and they'll do something like that. I don't think there's many countries this would have happened in, you know, that. And the other thing it shows to me is that if Britain ever didn't get involved in a war again, I think people forget Britain. We might be a tiny nation, and we are a tiny nation, especially now, so we don't have the empire, and our armed services, armed forces, they're not what they used to be. But one thing that I think people should never underestimate is the tenacity of British people. How many different nationalities? Let me put him up for. Because he's just intrigued me, this guy. I actually, I know it sounds, you know, I'm sure there'll be people who'll disagree with me, but hey, that doesn't matter. I love what he's done. It's not because whether I agree with Palestine or not. I don't know probably enough about it to have I don't think we should be bombing him. But this to me just personifies, I wish he had a Union Jack actually with him. It just personifies me what British people are like. They're tenacious. He's climbed up Big Ben. He's took his shoes off. His feet are bleeding. He's hanging on to the thing there. He's going to make his point. And he's going to come down when he decides he's going to come down. Not so when the authorities go up there to challenge him. Because also he wasn't only protesting, as I say, against Free Palestine. He's protesting against general lack of action, if you like, by the government, curtailing of free speech. And what we have to remember is what's important at the moment in Britain is recently the Just Oil protesters were sentenced to a 5-year prison sentence that's just been reduced to 4 years for peaceful protest. Yes, they caused a lot of, probably inconvenience to people whose lives they were trying to save, but they don't care. They're trying to get to work or trying to do this, that, or the other. 5-year sentence. Whereas Hugh Edwards, and not only him, there'll be loads of other cases you could come up with. Hugh Edwards had actual child P on his phone. He did not even get a prison sentence. He got a suspended sentence or whatever he got. It was fuck all. In other words, he got fuck all because children aren't valued in our society. But this disruption or challenge of the challenge of those in control or, the establishment or whatever, that is a higher sentence than abusing children in British society now. I couldn't believe it when those people were given 5 years imprisonment. First offences as well. So to me, this guy personifies, and when you watch his videos and hear what he's got to say, him personally, about why he did it, it's not all about Palestine. It's got a bigger issue than that. And he's as British as they come. You see him, hear him talking. He's just protesting against injustice. And he went up there, he sat there for nearly 17 hours. He took, the iconic moment for me was when he got out a packet of crisps or something. You just see taking his snacks up there with him. He'd taken. I just thought, how British is that? I'm surprised he didn't have a flask. I'm surprised he didn't have a flask with tea in it. That's what I would have taken. I said, British person fear. British do it best. Honestly, they do. He's got his crisp out. Where his flask with tea was, I don't know. And he sat there for 17 hours nearly. And he didn't go to the toilet. So I had visions of him peeing off Big Ben. How'd you go? I couldn't go an hour without going to the loo probably, or maybe more than an hour, but I certainly couldn't go 17 hours. I had these visions of him having a quick pee like up there. Or did he take a bottle with him? I mean, what was it? It was just so British. Get your sandwiches, cucumber sandwiches. Yeah, I'm going protesting. What are you doing today, darling? Oh, I'm going to go and climb up Big Ben and have a bit of a protest. But it's okay. I've got my flask of tea and my sandwiches. I've got my butties. I've got a bottle to pee in if I need to. I'll be fine. I'll see you later. It just, honest to God, it just to me, this is the Britishness I like. I like British eccentricity. British people, they're used to, this sense of fair play as well that he's got. Free Palestine because Palestine needs freedom. Whether you agree with it or not, the principle of it is good. We were always tolerant. All this hate that's seen now in British society and division, and I hate it. I like this. This is what I'm proud to be. Watching this, funny enough, made me feel proud to be British for the first time in quite a long time, I can assure you. So what we're going to have a look at is his Instagram account, because he documented the whole thing. He took the videos. And I love this picture. I think this is an iconic picture that will go down in history. So let's have a look at his Instagram account. I say I don't know what his name is, but his Instagram account is called Free All of Us. So I think that's good. That's relevant. So it's not only Free Palestine, Free All of Us. Because what he's saying is, I think this is let me find the first video. He put up a series of videos, right? So he got up at 7:30, basically Saturday morning, He got up at 7:30 and off he went. And before anyone knew it, he'd climbed up and he was halfway up Big Ben. Or what we call the Elizabeth Tower now. Oh, I just want to say, if you don't like heights, because there was a couple of times watching his video when he goes up there, that I sort of thought, oh my God, you know, it does make you feel a bit woozy if you don't like heights. I don't know how to put the video on full, which is a bit annoying because, anyway, I don't know how to do it. So. It was a beautiful day, look. Sunny sky. Blue sky. What time is it there? I think it's 7:30 on Big Ben there when he goes up there. Is it right there at the Houses of Parliament? No police in sight. Where's the bloody security?
Sun rising. Beautiful day for it. It's a protest against police repression, state repression and police violence against...
So, as he was climbing up there, he was videoing him onto his Instagram, and he was saying this is a protest against state violence, police violence. So he probably should have put that on his poster, because of course lots of people haven't got any sympathy for Palestine. There's a lot of, anyway, that gets very political, doesn't it? But I think most people have got sympathy towards, they don't want the state repressing them, or police repressing them, or whatever. So he goes on to, hey, stop. So he tells us what he's protesting for. Now, he got up there pretty quick, didn't he? 1 minute he was on the ground, next minute he was halfway up. Not a policeman to be seen, not a security guard to be seen. I mean, he could have had a bomb or anything, couldn't he? And just threw it in one of the, I don't know, done some damage.
Peaceful protesters. Through Palestine, through the Filton 18. Right, gotta get out to that point now. So close. Once I get out there, oh good.
Oh my God. I don't know about you, but that's making me dizzy just looking at it, never mind being there. God. Why can't I get this off? How do I get the...
Our rights keep being stripped away from us. Our protests are getting banned. We're getting arrested for peacefully protesting, getting locked away. So why not bring the protest to the so-called hub of democracy? And
Oh, look at that policeman. So the policeman's finally seen him. How did he get all the way up there before anybody even saw him or challenged him?
there's a camera.
Right, I'm going to go on to his next video now. So he's sort of settled down now. He's found at a place. Look, he's got no shoes on now. He's taking his shoes off. He's taken his shoes off now so that he could climb better. He cut his feet. He's now found somewhere to sort of take, you know, his camera is not so, what's the word? You know, he's settled now. He's taking better videos now. There's a beautiful video actually he's taken. Look, with the London Eye in the background, the River Thames. Oh, look at that.
Democracy's dead. We're being imprisoned for peaceful protest, civil disobedience. We're seeing climate activists receiving 4 to 5 years in prison. Our Palestine actionists are being imprisoned for doing what our government should be doing and stopping arms.
Yeah, and you know, I agree with that. He's saying that activists are being in prison for doing what the government should be doing and stopping arms. You know, I hate, nobody ever seems to want peace. You know, it's the main objective of any government should be peace. And I don't mean peace at all costs, but sometimes there are costs in peace. But are they more than the costs of war, you know, to people? You know, it gets, you know, I studied this at university, war, peace and international ethics. Ethics are important as well. You know, war is wrong. Once you take the standpoint that war is wrong, whatever, that, you know, there are no just wars, really. But if everybody adopted that position, there would be no war. But anyway, we're not in that position, and there are wars. And sometimes, you know, states do take aggressive action against other states. But, you know, the thing is, if you start from the standpoint that war is wrong, and the whole, you know, a government's whole objective should be to stop war, not sell arms or, you know, provide billions of pounds for, you know, so that people can kill other people. If you take that objective, then I think somewhere down the line, maybe things will be different one day. Why do people resort to war as an answer to problems? Anyway.
To the terrorist state of Israel. We're being banned from protesting on pavements, being arrested for marching on roads. We're being banned from protesting outside specific buildings like the BBC. We're spiraling quickly into fascism. The government's rolling out more and more facial recognition on town centres and at protests. They're bringing in bills to prevent us from wearing face coverings at protests to protect ourselves. We're being violently attacked by police for peaceful protest. That's why I'm taking action at the so-called hub of democracy today. Democracy's dead.
Democracy's
We're
dead.
being imprisoned for peaceful protest, civil disobedience. We're seeing climate
Okay, let's look
activists.
at his next video. Sorry, do you know what? I'm just laughing because it was the look at his bare feet there, right on the edge. Oh my god! Oh my god! He's got a black toenail. His feet are bleeding. He cut all his feet.
Can't hear a word.
Sorry.
I can't hear you properly, I'm sorry.
Now we've got some Karen down there saying, you know, I don't know, trying to give him a lecture. Shut up. He's making a protest. He's not going to get down because you tell him to. Honestly, I'm so in support of this guy. It's not about Palestine. It's about the fact he's gone up there. He should have been challenged. He shouldn't have been allowed to get up there, but he was. So that's not his fault, is it? That the security is so lax at the Houses of Parliament. The security is so lax that this guy managed to just hop over a wall, climb halfway up the thing, and now I don't know what she thinks, like shouting at him being bullshit. She's like, he's going to come down because she tells him to. Good for him. Sorry, I think it's brilliant what he did.
I don't want no police to come anywhere near me. Listen. No police are to come anywhere near me.
Oh, shut up, man. No, this guy, he tells them a million times, it's no point anyone coming near me. I'll come down when I'm ready to come down. He says it over and over again, and they just ignore him and keep coming up to him. So as I say, I was watching this last night and I was thinking I would have liked to have gone live, but I wasn't sure that he wasn't going to fall off. So I didn't want to be on live when he fell off. You know, I just didn't want to be. So I thought, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to talk about this in the morning when hopefully he'll have been brought down safely, which he has now. But I still think it is just brilliant what he did. He's attracted attention all over the world for nothing to do with Palestine although I do agree with him, to be honest. But anyway, that's not the point for me. The point for me is how he's showing that free speech, these Stop Oil protesters being in prison for 5 years. God, and people like Hugh Edwards getting nothing, no prison sentence. Something's wrong. It's got to be sorted out, this. It's got to be.
If you come too close, I'm going higher.
So they're getting these cherry pickers ready to come up and talk to him. And he keeps saying to them, if you come to me, I'm going to go higher. You're risking my life. The only risk to my life is you. I'm okay here. I'm safe where I am. I'll stay here. I'll be fine. But if you keep coming up and trying to talk to me, I'm going to go higher up. So it's you causing a risk to my life. Meanwhile, the Karens and Kevins, that's what they are, aren't they? They call them. I've got a friend called Karen. I don't know how she feels about being, no comment about whether she is, a real name is Karen. I'm not commenting about whether she's a Karen or not. But, this Karen and Kevin, and I'm just happy I'm not called Kevin. Or Kevin or Karen, because if it's not very nice. Anyone who's called Karen now, it's like you'd have to change your name, wouldn't you? If I was a real Karen, I would have to change my name, I think.
I'm not sure what they're doing. Fire brigade, don't do the work of the police. You're not the police. I'm here peacefully. I'm here to harm nobody. Free Palestine!
I just love British people. Honestly, this has made me love British people again. These are the British people. Look at the heart of him. Whether you agree with him, you don't agree with him, it doesn't matter. But look at his heart. He's sort of, he's doing this and he's stayed up there for nearly 16 hours. That is the British sort of spirit to me.
Free the Filton 18! Free the Filton 18!
Who's the Filton 18? Oh, I've got to look at that now. I don't know who the Filton 18 are.
I can't hear you. You're not going to come near me, though.
So Karen and Kevin are still trying to talk to him, and he's just saying, "You're not coming near me, though." So the Filton 18 apparently are Palestine activists that are being supposedly kept in harsh conditions. Now, I didn't even know anything about them before, so he's raised a bit of awareness, hasn't he?
If you go up, do not come towards me or I'm going up. Don't come towards me.
Look at the size of that response. Now, the thing is, whatever you think about him, don't think about him. He shouldn't have been allowed to do it. That is a serious security breach. So sort of joking aside, this is what people are saying. How did he manage to do it? He just jumped over that wall and climbed up, and before you knew it, he was up there.
Fucking hell, it is beautiful up here.
It's beautiful up here. So don't forget, he's got his crisps. He's probably got a flask of tea. He's real British. Probably got a sandwich.
So beautiful.
Oh, it is beautiful.
You gotta understand, I can barely hear you.
I won't speak to the police. I'll speak to the fire brigade, but not the police. The police are the problem.
Oh, so there you go. He said he speak to the fire brigade, but not the police. The police are the problem. So he's protesting about so much more than just Palestine, isn't he?
I'm protesting against police repression and violence for peaceful protesters. The police are the problem. Your own conduct is the issue. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free the filtered 18! No more police violence against peaceful protesters! Man, I can't get over this view. Actually beautiful up here.
So he keeps like shouting like the free Palestine, free the filtered 18. Then he goes, oh God, this view is beautiful. I love this guy. So to me, he's just typical eccentric British person, and good for him, standing up for what he believes in. Whatever you believe in, you should stand up for it. It's not a question of whether you agree with him, don't agree with him about Palestine. He should not have. First of all, he's exposed the lack of security, and now they just don't know what to do they? Oh, look at his bare feet! Oh my God!
What the fuck was that?
Let's look to his next video. So the thing is, he's up there. He's got his Chris, he's got his Palestine flag. He's not coming down. I mean, he's got up there, his feet are bleeding. He's not, he's determined to do, he believes in what he's not hurting anyone. He's not put a bomb on anyone. He's not shot anyone. He's making a peaceful protest, and he's succeeded in what he's doing because people all over the world have watched this.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free the filtered 18!
I want to get to
free Palestine!
I don't know how to fast forward this because there's a bit when the people are coming up on the cherry picker. It's hilarious. Oh, here they come. Oh, here's Karen. She's in the cherry picker now. Well, you know, I'm not being funny, but if she came up on the cherry picker to me, I'd tell her to fuck off, fuck right off, sorry. Shut up with your attitude, go away. Why is she even there? Who is she? You know, and she's just irritating him. Adios, Karen.
No idea what she's saying. I can't hear a word you're saying if you're talking to me.
He said, I can't hear a word you're saying if you're talking to me. Well, no, what other person is she talking to who's up at the... There must be someone around the corner on the Big Ben as well, does he think? He can't hear a word she's saying. Honest to God. Now, I can find it funny now that everything's finished and he's safe. Well, he's been arrested, of course. He'll probably get a prison sentence. He's not Hugh Edwards, who had child porn on his phone. Who didn't get a prison sentence, but he doesn't know the right people, does he? He'll probably get a prison sentence for this. But anyway, I just think now, listening to him saying, I can't hear a word you're saying. In other words, bugger off, Karen. So they're not taking any notice. He's saying to him. He said to them, don't come towards me because it'll make me climb higher. He's going to say that again in a minute. And they still came. So he's videoing everything that they do. I just think this is a very British thing that's going on here. His politeness, you know, it's like, sorry, I can't hear you, but it just, do you just feel this could only happen in Britain in this way? Good for you. Not that I'll be doing it, you wouldn't get me up the side of Big Ben. Oh my God, I would have fallen off by now. I would never have got up there in the first place, but I would have fallen off if I did. So this is the way to make a protest. Don't drive your bloody car.
What a beautiful day it is, actually.
He just keeps saying what a beautiful day it is. You know, so word of advice to anyone who's trying to heighten awareness of anything, you know, whether it be Islam, whether it be the women's rights, whether it be or whatever you're protesting about, this is the way to do it. Don't drive your bloody car into a load of innocent people, because people will hate you anyway, and they won't, even if they might have sympathized with you before. Don't go stabbing a load of children. Don't go doing those things. If you want to protest and for people to feel sympathy towards your cause, or your, you know, or at least admire you for standing up for your principles, don't kill people. Peaceful protest. That is what he's doing.
Clear skies, warm weather, perfect day for it. No, barely. Who are you? Identify yourself. I have nothing to say to the police.
So he said, who are you? Identify yourself. So he's achieved a lot of publicity. This has been viral. This has gone all over the world. And he's achieved it peacefully. He hasn't, like you say, thrown paint over, you know, a priceless work of art. He hasn't hurt anybody. He's just done this. And I'm sorry, I do feel people have a right to do that. How else are you going to protest that people actually take notice? And all the rights that we enjoy today as women, or as before, if we were working class or whatever, we wouldn't have achieved those rights or if we're a person of colour, or, you know, the LGBT community. A lot of the things that that all these people all enjoy today, the rights we enjoy today, we would not enjoy if people wouldn't have protested. You know, you're not going to say to the suffragettes, oh, you should never have thrown yourself in front of the king's horse, are you? You know, they did that. They did it for attention because they needed attention. If you don't go for attention, how are you ever going to change anything? Any sort of civil rights? So no, I mean, I agree with him 100%. And to be honest, I agree with Just Doyle. Don't agree with them ruining paintings and stuff. But, you know, when they throw, like, I don't know, if they threw confetti over it or did something, yeah, I agree with it. I agree with Just Doyle.
Don't come any closer. Yep.
I just think this is hilarious and video net. I do, because I don't have sympathy for them. I don't think the way they're dealing with it is right. You know what? I don't think they've probably been trained in negotiations or whatever. But Karen's still trying to tell him what to do. She doesn't know how to deal with people. You know, she's telling him what
I won't
to
speak
do.
to the police. Who are you working with, sorry? I won't speak with anyone who's working with the police.
Is there anyone you would like to speak with?
The police are the issue.
Do you know, when I was first watching this, I thought, oh, I hope Keir Starmer goes up there. Or, you know, someone from the government. That's, do you know, I bet President Trump probably would have been up there. You know, because you could turn this round to a good sort of opportunity, you know, as far as politicians are concerned. But yeah, I mean, this guy, I'll tell you what he's done wrong. He's climbed, you know, which is nothing. He's climbed up Big Ben without being stopped by anyone. It's not his fault there was no security there. There should have been security there. You can't blame that on him. He's gone up there. Nobody stopped him. He's just gone up there. He's saying his piece, and good for him, I say. You know, more people should say their piece peacefully, not smashing your car into Christmas markets, not stabbing kids. This is how you get your point across. Right, let's look at the next one.
At some point, what house you come down?
Did we watch this one? Oh no, we've seen those. Yeah. So this one, we watched that. What's
At some point, your house you come down. How long do you think you're going to be there? How long do you think you're able to be there? Danny, your message was to move up. To say free Palestine.
He's just ignoring her. He's just getting some good video footage. So at some point they changed over. She didn't get anywhere with him basically. So they changed over to another one. Let's see where we are. Stayed there for 16 and a half hours. So that guy with the loudspeaker is shouting to him, oh, there was somebody who did 2.5 days a few years ago, so you've got a long way to go yet. Stay calm.
Free Palestine!
I think I've always liked rebels. I like it when people rebel. I don't hate the police. I quite like the police. It'd be the police that I'd need to help me if anything happened, wouldn't it? But I do believe you've got to be a little bit of a rebel. You've got to say what you think, and you should have the freedom to say what you think.
It's not about respect. You've missed the point if you think it's about respect. Hello, people.
He's just carrying on with his video, ignoring her. With the blood all over the rocks that he's climbed up. So, just because I'm not going to play every little bit of his video, but it's all there on his Instagram, free_all.of.us. Free all of us on Instagram is his account.
I already told you 3.5 days.
He didn't quite make it to 3.5 days, did he? So they didn't know what to do with him, basically, and he just kept shooting these videos and uploading. You can see
Still
it's
just
getting
as
darker
beautiful
now.
up here.
Shadows are coming over.
It's strange. It's like I feel like everyone's got a natural built-in fear of heights, but when you've been up here for hours, it sort of just starts feeling a bit normal. And I was thinking, it's like we can't allow things like genocide to be normalized just because we're seeing it for so long, for months and months on end. And we can't have our rights taken away from us year after year. More draconian powers are given to police. We can't just sit back and do nothing and just accept it as normal. We're being punished for peaceful protest. Peaceful protesters are getting longer sentences than violent attacks. How can that make sense?
Exactly. To me, this is the point, and I'm glad he's up there saying that. Peaceful protesters getting 5 years prison sentences, violent people not getting that much, and child lovers like Hugh Edwards not even getting a prison sentence. That to me is the main thing that comes out of this. Free Palestine is another facet of it all.
We can't let this be normalised. Still just as beautiful up here. It's strange because, like, I feel like everyone's got a natural.
I can't remember which way I'm going now. What was that? So this must be as it was getting later and he's put his hoodie on. Oh, yeah. This is my favourite video. When these three are coming up here, the expression on their face as they're coming up. It's hilarious. So it's getting dark now.
I will come down on my toes. I've said this. But right now, I'm saying I'm safe. If you come towards me, you're putting me in danger and I will climb higher. And I told you this from the beginning. And I feel fine. I'm safe. As we've said, I'm on a large ledge here. I'm safe. I'm not. I've stopped bleeding. They're small cuts. But that's the thing. I will tell you if I'm in danger. And I've said this. I will tell you if I'm in danger. I'm safe right now. I'm in the same position I have been. We've been having conversations earlier. I'm safe. You're the one, listen, you're the ones putting me in danger. I'm telling you this. You come towards me, you're putting me in danger. And I told you, if you come towards me, I have no choice other than to climb higher because I'm not ready to come down. I will come down on my toes. I've said this. But right now, I'm saying I'm safe. If you come towards me, you're putting me in danger and I will climb higher. And I told you this from the beginning. And I feel fine. I'm safe. As we've said, I'm on a large ledge here. I'm safe.
Anyway, so he is now. Where's my picture gone? Hang on. Could have been sneezing like mad. Don't know what that is. Must be allergy. Yeah, he's down now. So you'll be glad to know he's down. He's safe. He's been arrested. He will probably get quite a long prison sentence. He'll get more than Hugh Edwards got, because Hugh Edwards didn't get any prison sentence. So this is what's wrong. Whether you agree with the Palestine thing, this is all wrong. So let me just have a look. So Westminster Police said the man was arrested once he reached the ground, and during Saturday, negotiators and emergency crews on a cherry picker had been talking to the man who was several feet away, appealing for him to come down. And he said he would come down on his own terms. So it went into the night, of course. I mean, I'm glad he came down because it's cold up there. You know, it is unsafe. He could have fallen off. I wouldn't have wanted anything to happen to him or anyone. And to me, you're going to do a protest. This is the way to do it. Not hurting anyone. You're not vandalising any priceless work of art. You're not holding up the traffic on the motorway even. You're not driving your car into a Christmas market. You're not going out and stabbing a load of kids for nothing. You know, you're not doing. He's not doing anything, but you got the attention. And to me, I think the highlight of it for me was when he opened his packet of crisps. I started eating them. And I thought, oh, this is so British. You know, did he have a flask of tea with him? Maybe, you know, that's what he should have thought of, a flask of tea. Probably didn't want to drink anything because then he'd want a wee. And where was he going to have a wee? Unless he took, like, something with him, like we were saying, a bottle or something. So, yeah, I'm glad he's safe. Now, he had, I think he had mentioned, hadn't he, that he was planning to stay there for 3.5 days. But anyway, he wasn't going to do that. Let's just watch this Sky News video and then I'm going to finish. I mean, I wonder if he'd been planning it for a while and then just that day, because it was quite a nice day, because you couldn't do it when it was freezing cold and, peeing down with rain. Just decided that day, off he went, 7:30, and he was halfway up Big Ben before anyone even realised what had happened. So the big question now is the security question. So all of Westminster Bridge was closed as emergency services responded to the incident, and parliamentary tours were also cancelled. Well, you know what? It's hardly like, these people go through wars and this, that and the other. Ooh, oh my God, my parliamentary tour was cancelled. Oh my God, how awful. There's people dying in wars all over the world. Not only the problems in Palestine. To me, you just have to take a stance. I'm anti-war, and that's it, full stop. I can't really look any further than that. Anyway, this has been, the Westminster Police said, this has been a protracted incident due to the specifics of where the man was located and the need to ensure the safety of our officers, the individual, and the wider public. Oh dear. Well, tell you what, being a policeman in Westminster, you can't ever say it's boring, can you? Anyway, it's all back to normal now. What? Conservative MP Ben Obese checks it. Sorry. Well, God, that's an unfortunate name, isn't it, Ben? Obese Jecty. I think it really could do with losing that name. Let's have a look at him. No, that'd be an awful name to have, wouldn't it? Especially if you were a bit of a chubster. Which he isn't, bless him. I wonder where that name comes from. So he's the MP for Huntingdon. Maybe he's a very good MP. Sorry, I'm not sharing it. Maybe he's a very good MP, I don't know, but it seems like a very unfortunate name to me. As someone who is a chubster, meaning me, I would hate to have that name. Yeah, chubster. I would hate to have a name like that. God. Heather. Once you're feeling better, that's where Heather's going there. I can feel it coming on. So you know what to do now. You've been shown it. Yeah, get up there with your bloody Waspy banner. Oh, is he your MP? He's the Huntingdon MP. There he is. Get your Waspy Ladies banner. Get up, Big Ben. Because you're bionic now. So once you're back in shape again, off you go. I'll come along and film it for you. Put it on the YouTube channel. Yeah, go for it. Listen, I'm quite happy being a chubster, thank you. Especially as you get older. It's good to be carrying a little bit of weight. I mean, I'm not saying you should be obese like his name, but, carrying a little bit of weight, I always say it, because if you get ill, you've got some weight to lose. Do you know what I mean? Because I've seen people who are very slim and then they get ill, they lose weight and they've got nothing to lose. So you've always got to carry a little bit in reserve, in my opinion. That's my opinion. And I'm sticking to it, and that's why I had a Greg's sausage roll for breakfast. Oh, dear. Anyway, there you go. So we've talked about a lot today. I'm going off in a minute. I'm going to make a roast dinner, nice chicken dinner with Yorkshire puddings and everything. I'm looking forward to that. the only problem, isn't it, takes forever to make. It takes 10 minutes to eat it, and then it takes forever to wash up afterwards. Anyway, I try and wash up as I go along. But yeah, it's Sunday. It's cold. It's not actually that cold today, but it's a little bit chilly. So it's nice to have a roast dinner. Yeah, come over to mine for a dinner. A chunky chipster. Exactly, Heather. You be up there. You will find it easy, and I'll be stood at the bottom. I can't get up there. I'll be down at the bottom taking the videos. So, and afterwards, don't laugh, but afterwards, I've got some cherry bakewells for pudding. Oh, dearie. There you go. That's what we're eating today. So we've talked about quite a lot of things, haven't we? So we talked about what this horrible virus is that apparently killed Betsy Hackman. We've talked about the tropical storm Alfred battering Australia. God, what else did we talk about? Oh, yeah, we've reflected on COVID because it's Reflection COVID Day. And I think the biggest reflection now is just thank God that we're not back there in that place. And then we've talked about this guy. I suppose we'll find out more about him in the coming week, what his name is. And, you know, he's going to be held in prison, isn't he? And he's going to end up getting a sentence. And all he did was climb up Big Ben and shout Free Palestine. Yeah, no butter mushrooms. I am still eating mushrooms. I was put off mushrooms by the butter mushrooms, and also that woman that made a beef Wellington and poisoned all her family with mushrooms. But I am still eating mushrooms, just not butter ones. Hey, Laurie, I wonder if he took some pigeon food up with him. So, yeah. I think he's brilliant. I think he's stood up for, you know, whatever cause he thinks, but also just the fact is you should have a right to say what you want, when you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not destroying anything, you know, that is, you know, to me, he's a very British, it's very British way of showing what you think, and we've lost it because it's all about anger these days. You know, like the protests after, you know, the South put, it's all riots and anger and hating other religions and nationalities and all this hate. You know, to me, this is how British people used to protest, and this is the way, to me, is typically British, and that's the tenacity of British people. And that is why I was saying to my son, you know, if we ever did, hopefully we won't, but if we ever did get involved in another war, you can never underestimate British people. We might have a tiny little army now, you know, it might be a shadow of what it was years ago, but you can never underestimate the tenacity of British people. And that is a real positive thing about British people, I think. Yeah, I'll be having a little glass of wine. I can't have much because I've got to take number one son to work later. So I am taxi, so I can only have one, but I will be having one as I'm cooking. Okay, so thank you for being here with me, as always. Thank you so much. Let me put my ticker up again. Don't forget to like this video. Leave your DNA on the like button, please. And more importantly, please subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hope you've enjoyed this Sunday morning chat. Just wanted to talk about a few things, not crime, you know, just some different things. And thank you to all of you who've sent me a super chat or bought me a Ko-fi, or a special thanks, as always, to my members. Thank you so much. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Bye. Enjoy your day. Or, of course, or your afternoon, or your evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in.